But yeah, Jerry and Helena and Layla, I'm gonna be homeschooling them. CPS decided to pay me a visit on Thanksgiving Eve, where I've got a phone in one hand and I've got a chicken in the other hand, and I'm trying to, make plans on a calendar and with a hand I don't even have, and here comes CPS to muddy the waters. And
why did they come?
yeah, the kids weren't wearing new clothes, and their clothes were dirty and they smelled, and they hadn't washed their hair, and all this, which was a total lie, of course. But Thanksgiving Eve, and the CPS worker actually messed up, because she was telling me about how they went in and spoke to my kids and stuff, and I'm like, oh really, you did you? And but yeah, went right into school, talked with them at school without my consent. And I'm like, okay. So I've yanked my kids out of school, and I'm going to homeschool them from now on.
Don't you think that might increase the odds of Child Protective Services being concerned about your kids? I mean,
no, because they're going
to. They do have the right legally, I think, to talk to interview children.
Yes, if there is a problem of some kind, but there is no problem. Okay, my divorce was years ago. That's all done. That's all settled. In the 9.5 years that they've harassed the shit out of me, my kids have never been harmed. No laws have ever been broken. Okay, so no, they don't have the right. The government does not have the right to just come in and take your kids out of school. Okay, they can't do that. All right. Not only that, but every time they take them out of a class, guess what? That's an F. Your kid gets an F for that day. All right. So no, the government doesn't have the right to do that. All right. And I noticed my kids' grades were failing. They were bringing home Fs. I'm like, what in the world is this? My kids are straight A students. What the heck's going on? They were taking them out of class, asking them a bunch of questions, just whenever they want, just whenever they felt like, just waltzing right in there and pulling them out. And yeah, no, to hell with that. So I'm homeschooling my kids so it's effective immediately. And if they don't like it, they can go fly a kite, because that's just the way it's going to be. But the government does not have the whole point. And I explained this to the people at the school too, because the people at the school didn't know. The whole point of a constitution, folks, is to limit the government's ability to attack an individual or a family. That's the whole point of the Constitution. Okay, so if the government has unfettered access to your kids in a public school, what's the point of even having a Constitution? The Constitution has basically been made null and void at that point. If the government can go into school and yank your kids out of class any old time they want, you ain't got a Constitution. You don't. Because the whole purpose of a Constitution is to limit the government's ability against the citizen. That's the whole point of it. That's why the Constitution was made. All right. And it doesn't matter whether it's a Kentucky state constitution or the federal constitution. It doesn't matter. Okay. But it's a limitation on the government's ability to harass, harangue, assault, jail, kill the average individual citizen. That's the whole point. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. Yeah, the government does not have a right to come and get your kids whenever they want. They'll say they do. They will tell you flat to your face. They'll look you right now and say, we can come and get your kids out of school anytime we want. That's a flat out lie. It's a flat out lie. They can't. They have to be able to prove that the child is in danger, or that there is some kind of, altercation occurring, a divorce, settlement, dispute of some kind. There has to be a reason. Okay. They can't just waltz in there any old time they like and yank your kid out of school. Okay. They can't do that. That's BS.
I mean, I'm going to give you some heartfelt advice here, Vaughn. I think taking them out of school may trigger more focus, I guess, if you will.
I've had 9.5 years of focus. They can't be no more focus than that.
And if you do choose to homeschool your kids still, I would recommend actually that you put them in maybe a charter school with a home study program where they go see the teacher once a week. So that way it's state approved.
Well, I'm going to be handling it through the Board of Education and everything. So
yeah,
it's all going to be handled through the Board of Education. GVR says, or GY6, how is that, GY6 or GVR? Anyway, GY6 says lots of hoops to jump through when homeschooling, Bun. You have to be very careful and keep precise records. Yeah, well, I know what they can do with their records, right? You know,
Typically.
but I'm still the parent, and the government is not the parent. I'm the parent, and like Andy Cap says, we do still have rights in this country, and I intend to exercise those rights. And if they decide to pursue it, then we'll have to deal with it in court. Then, because it's all going to court anyway. I mean, they drove my wife insane, destroyed my marriage, and abused my kids under foster care. So we're going to court anyway. All right.
Wow.
So if they dogpile on more in addition to that, that's just going to look better in my favor.
My heartfelt advice to you is, I mean, even though I understand, that you're feeling upset, with them taking your kids out of class and all that. But I mean, ultimately, it's a good idea to pretty much cooperate, and do what CPS says. If they make you take parenting classes or anything like that,
Yeah.
I would cooperate, right? Because the more you fight, they do have the power of the state, behind them. And, ultimately, I mean, sure, ultimately, both you and they want the best interest of the child. You
No,
know
they
what I
don't.
mean?
No, they don't, honey. Let me stop you right there, okay? Government's main purpose is to destroy the family. They want to destroy the family unit. Now, why is that? They want to destroy the family unit because the family unit is very hard to control. Okay, so they want to destroy the family unit. That is the purpose of Child Protective Services. That is the purpose of DCBS, whatever you wish to call it in your state. That's the whole purpose of it, is to destroy the family unit, because governments historically have been very hard to control families. They can't control them. Okay, so what do? They get the family busted up and get you all back to individuals again. Then it's real easy to control you then at that point. Okay, so no, they don't give a rip about your family. When they got my kids, when they come out to me on Christmas Day and took my kids, they shipped them clear out to Indiana, where they ended up getting abused. Now, admittedly, they didn't get abused by the foster parents. They got abused by the foster parents' daughter and their daughter's boyfriend. But still, they shipped them clear out to Indiana, where they ended up getting abused. Okay, they don't care. They don't care. There was no inquiry. There was no investigation. There was no arrest made. Nothing was done. Okay. They do not care. They really don't. All they see is potential dollar signs. Can this kid get me $3,000 ahead? Can I get, $3,000 out of this kid by putting it in an adoptive home or something? That's the only thing that matters to them. They don't care about family units. They could care less. Well, here's the thing. Okay. I've had the government harassing me for 9.5 years, and that's enough. I'm not going to put up. See, here's the thing. Here's the risk I run. If I keep them in public school, CPS, DCBS, whatever you want to call them, is going to continuously go to my kids' school, yank them out of class. That's another F. They're going to keep getting Fs over and over and over again. There will be nothing I can do about it. Their grades are going to plummet, and then they're going to say, "Oh, look, Von Helm's kids are getting failing grades. Let's go out there and yank those kids away from him." Now, if you can't see that that's a setup, I don't know what to say to you, man, because it is a setup. It is a setup. They send CPS out there, to go out there and yank them out of that class. They get an F for the day. Then they yank them out again, another F and another F and another F. Then here about a week later, month later, year later, whatever. Then they come and they say, "Oh, look, Von Helden's kids are getting failing grades. He is not a good parent. We got to yank them kids away from him." And that's exactly what they would do. That's exactly what they would do. Well, you know what? I'm not going to give them the ability to do that. So yeah, I'm taking them out of public school. Because if their grades keep plummeting, that's exactly what they're going to say. They're going to say, "I'm an unfit father. I'm not capable of raising my kids, and we got to get them kids away from that evil Von Helton guy, by God." And I'm not going to let them do it. I'm not going to let them do it. I asked CPS when he was out here, I said, "Do you want me to leave Kentucky? Because I can do that." They never said a word. They never said one word to me. Because they know I'm telling the truth. They know I'm telling the truth. It's all a setup, man.
So, I mean, heartfelt advice here, Vaughn. I would leave my kids in school. I would make sure they're well groomed, well dressed. You know what I mean?
That's the thing, though. They'll never be. But that's the thing, though. They'll never be well groomed and well dressed to suit them. Never. Like when they come out to my house on Christmas Day and take my kids because my house is cluttered, because there's Christmas wrapping everywhere. What does that tell you? That tells you they just want to aggravate and agitate. I've been told, I don't know if it's true, but I've been told that they get yelled at if they don't take your kids. If they go out on a report and they don't take your kids, they get yelled at. Okay, you got people out here. Listen, I used to lay carpet down here. All right. I know how these houses look inside. And they're horrible. They are horrible inside. I've laid carpet in them. I know. They're a hell of a lot worse looking than my trailer is. Is CPS going out there and taking those kids because of the horrible living conditions? Fuck no. You know why? Because they ain't got a bunch of assholes on the internet calling them every 5 minutes. Well, here's the thing. I had a very interesting conversation with a Kentucky congresswoman. All right. And we had a nice little chat about this whole thing. All right. And what led me to her was I saw an actual article online where 18 children had died in the state of Kentucky that year. Well, gee, Yvonne, why did they die? Oh, they died because CPS workers are short-staffed in the state of Kentucky. And so when CPS was diverted that year to these calls, these nonsensical calls like what the trolls and haters have been doing, real children are being killed. Okay, so while CPS was talking to me Thanksgiving Eve, 2 children are dead. That's not an exaggeration. That's not me making assertions. They're literally, 2 children are literally dead. And like I said, me and a Kentucky congresswoman talked about this at length. The Kentucky congresswoman asked me, she said, Mr. Von Helton, I can't find none of my social workers. Where are they? I said, ma'am, I'm looking right at them. She said, you're what? I said, yes. My backyard is full of CPS workers. And she said, Mr. Von Helton, that will never happen again. And you know what? It didn't. So that tells me that they can do something about this if they wanted to. They could get these assholes off my back if they wanted to, but they don't want to. They don't want to. They could shut down these trolls tomorrow if they wanted to. They could find every one of these assholes and throw them in prison for filing a false claim to CPS, which is a felony, by the way. They could have every one of these assholes arrested for committing a felony. Will they do it? No. Because it's a lot easier to come after me and harass the hell out of me than it is to track these guys down and put them behind bars where they belong. Now, I consider that a bit hypocritical, but, you know, that's just the way it is. So now the onus is now on me to track down all these idiots and throw them behind bars so that they don't do this to somebody else's family. Because, see, my family is destroyed. And my whole rep is tarnished. Everything about everything. My kids are going to be the recipients of this after I'm gone. You think CPS is going to stop when these kids turn 18? No, it just begins. Because then once I'm gone, they latch onto them and they follow them around. And when they have kids, they go after their kids. It doesn't stop. And I have these idiots right here in this chat to thank for it. So I'm going to be suing these idiots after I get done with the local yokels here. They're going to get a lawsuit because it's a felony to file a false charge with CPS anyway. Now I've got that much on them at least. But here's the problem. The problem is that nobody gives a rip. Nobody gives a rip. That Kentucky congresswoman was able to stop CPS from coming out to my house, all them workers. And now it's down to just 2 workers. I had a seat. You should have seen my backyard, Sister Sunshine. If I'd have had a grill out there in the yard, it would have been a convention. I had about 20 or 30 CPS workers and at least 10 cops, all in my backyard. And for what? Oh, because some idiot on the internet thought he'd be cute and say, yeah, man, Von's trying to kill his kids. You got to get out there right away. They sent almost 100 people to my house because they thought my kids were being killed.
Well,
and has that person been prosecuted for a felony charge? No, because it's easier to harass me than it is to track these people down and throw them behind bars where they belong.
Well,
and now I'm carrying this for the rest of my life. My kids will be carrying it for the rest of their lives. And when they have children, those children will be followed around by CPS too, because of a bunch of assholes on the internet.
I tell you what, Vaughn, if you had your time back again, would you not have gone on the internet?
What's that?
If you could turn back time, you had the choice, would you not have bothered to go on the internet?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's the thing about this whole mess.
Because I know I wouldn't have done.
Yeah, well, see, the thing of it is, though, I wouldn't have found my ex-wife. We wouldn't have had 5 wonderful years. We had 5 wonderful years before the trolls intervened. We had 5 wonderful years. Can you imagine a marriage where you never argue with your spouse? Can you imagine a marriage where you finish each other's sentences and where every day is like Camelot?